My name is Claire Bennett, and for most of my life, I was the child nobody noticed. Not hated, not abused, just overlooked. There is a difference. My younger brother Ethan was the center of every room he entered. He was charismatic, creative, and loud. My parents adored him. They celebrated every achievement, every hobby, every dream. I was the quiet one, the practical one, the daughter who solved her own problems. Growing up, I convinced myself it didn't bother me. I told myself I didn't need attention. I didn't need praise. I didn't need validation. But deep down, every child wants to feel chosen. The moment I finally understood my place in the family happened during a dinner I will never forget. My parents had organized a large gathering to celebrate Ethan's acceptance into an international business program in London. The restaurant was elegant. Crystal glasses reflected the warm light of the chandeliers. People laughed and toasted. My father stood proudly and raised his glass. Tonight, he announced, your mother and I are proud to support Ethan's future with $70,000. Applause filled the room. My mother looked emotional. Ethan smiled like a movie star accepting an award. Everyone congratulated him. I sat quietly at the end of the table. When the noise settled, I cleared my throat. What if I decide to continue my education too? The room became strangely quiet. My father exchanged a glance with my mother. Then she answered, Claire, you've always been independent. She smiled politely. You don't need our help. That was it. No discussion, no consideration, no hesitation, just a simple reminder that different rules applied to me. I smiled, I nodded, I finished my drink. Then I stood up and left. No argument, no tears, no dramatic speech. Because for the first time I understood something important. I had spent years hoping they would change. They weren't going to. That night I rented a cheap room on the other side of the city. The room was small, the paint was peeling, the radiator made strange noises. But for the first time in my life, I felt free. I worked during the day as a junior software developer. At night, disappeared into projects, certifications, and freelance work. I lived carefully. Every dollar mattered. Every hour mattered. While Ethan posted photos from expensive cafes in London, I sat in my tiny apartment writing code until sunrise. There were nights I questioned everything. Nights when I wondered if my parents had been right. Maybe I wasn't special. Maybe I wasn't talented. Maybe practical people weren't meant for extraordinary things. But every morning I got up and kept working. 1 year later, I received a promotion. Then another. Then another. I became known inside the company as the person who solved impossible problems. The person nobody noticed until something broke. Then suddenly, everyone needed me. The irony wasn't lost on me. After 3 years, I left corporate life. Most people thought I was crazy. I used nearly every dollar I had saved to launch a software platform for small businesses. The platform helped companies manage deliveries, inventory, and customer communication through one simple system. The idea wasn't glamorous. Investors weren't immediately impressed. Nobody writes magazine articles about inventory management. But business owners loved it. The software solved real problems. Customers began recommending it. Then more customers arrived. Then more. The company grew. Slowly, steadily, quietly, just like me. 5 years after leaving home, the business exploded. A major retail chain signed a contract. Revenue doubled, then tripled. Investors who once ignored me suddenly wanted meetings. People who had never returned my calls were suddenly available anytime. Success has a strange way of making people interested. By 31, I was financially secure. Not rich, not famous, but comfortable. For the first time, I could breathe. I bought a modern home overlooking the water. Nothing extravagant, just peaceful. Large windows, a small office, a kitchen filled with natural light. Most importantly, Silence. The kind of silence that heals old wounds. My family knew almost nothing about my life. Years had passed. Occasional birthday messages, holiday greetings, nothing more. Then one afternoon, everything changed. A business magazine published a feature about my company. The article gained attention online. Apparently, someone sent it to my parents. The first phone call came that evening. My mother's name appeared on my screen. I stared at it for several seconds before answering. Hello? There was a pause. Then her voice. Claire? I recognized the surprise immediately. She wasn't calling because she missed me. She was calling because she had discovered something. Why didn't you tell us? She asked. Tell you what? About all of this. I looked around my office, the employees, the computers, the business I had built. Nobody asked. Silence. Then came the questions. How long? How much? How many employees? How successful? The conversation felt less like a family reunion and more like a financial interview. After 20 minutes, I ended the call politely. The next day my father called. Then Ethan. Then relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone suddenly wanted to reconnect. Everyone suddenly wanted to know me. Success hadn't changed who I was. It had changed how they saw me. Expected. A month later, my mother invited me to dinner. The same family. The same dynamic. Just different circumstances. I almost declined. Then I changed my mind. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I wanted closure. The dinner felt strangely familiar. My parents tried hard. Too hard. They complimented everything. My career, my home, my intelligence, my determination. The praise felt forced, as if they were trying to rewrite history in real time. Halfway through dinner, my father finally arrived at the real reason for the invitation. Ethan's business wasn't doing well. He had accumulated debt. Investments had failed. Money was tight. My parents were worried. I listened quietly. The pattern was so familiar, it almost made me laugh. When I needed support, I was independent. When they needed support, suddenly family mattered. I looked around the table. At the people who had spent years teaching me self-reliance. At the people who never believed in me until someone else validated my success. And for the first time, I felt no anger. Only clarity. A few weeks later, my company sponsored an educational charity event. Hundreds of people attended, business leaders, teachers, students, community organizations. I was asked to give a speech. Standing behind the podium, I looked out across the room. Then I noticed my parents sitting near the front. My mother smiled nervously. My father sat perfectly still. I began speaking about opportunity, about education, about potential, about how many talented young people never receive support simply because they don't fit someone's expectations. The room listened carefully. Then I announced a new scholarship program, the Future Builders Fund. A scholarship designed specifically for students pursuing science, engineering, and technology careers. Students whose talents often go unnoticed. Students who solve problems quietly. Students who work hard without applause. The audience applauded. Then I announced the first donation, $70,000. The exact amount my parents had once invested in Ethan. The room erupted. People stood, people cheered. But I wasn't looking at them. I was looking at my parents. Not with anger, not with satisfaction, just understanding. For the first time, they finally saw me. Not as Ethan's sister, not as the practical daughter, not as the backup plan, as me. After the event, my mother approached me with tears in her eyes. She tried to apologize. She tried to explain. She said they never meant to hurt me. Maybe that was true. Maybe it wasn't. At that point, it no longer mattered. Some wounds don't need apologies. They need boundaries. I thanked her politely. I wished my family well. And I went home. Today I still hear from them occasionally. Birthdays, holidays, life updates. We are civil, respectful, distant. The relationship isn't perfect. It probably never will be. But I've learned something valuable. Closure doesn't come from making people regret how they treated you. Closure comes from building a life so complete that their approval is no longer necessary. It wasn't the house. It was the moment I stopped measuring my worth through someone else's attention. Because the truth is simple. The people who overlook you do not define you. The people who underestimate you do not define you. And the people who refuse to invest in you do not decide your value. Only you do. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away, build your own future, and let your success tell the story they never bothered to hear.